Hello, everyone. Feeling awful for the child. Times are hard. This is, of course, when I was doing rideshare. There's different scenarios with each client that I pick up, but there were more than a few where I picked up a client. Sometimes they had a child in the car. Sometimes they were just corresponding with their kid on the phone, and just kind of felt awful for the child, and even somewhat the parent as well. More so for the child though, because a child is innocent for the most part. Um, I remember there was one time I picked up a woman from Five Guys, and this was late at night. And when I say late, it's about 9 o'clock. So I make my way there, pick the woman up. The woman's name was April. So I picked April up. She got in the car, followed by her daughter, and I proceed to ask them how their day was going. And the mother, you know, she said that they had a good day, everything was fine, but her tone, it spoke otherwise. And from there, the truth came out because as I'm pulling off, taking them about 10 minutes up the road to their place of residency, she's apologizing to her daughter for her because it was her daughter's birthday, and she was unable to really do anything for her daughter. And she didn't get into the details of why she couldn't do anything. However, my hypothesis was she just didn't have the means to do it. And maybe she had the means and life just ended up happening. So she had to put it on the back burner. As I continue to drive, more details comes out as the mother expresses certain things to her daughter. She tells her daughter that she has to go to work and that she's going to be working a double shift at a gas station, was her place of employment. Now, as I'm driving and listening, I'm just, taking it all in. Though she's not talking to me, and though I don't have any children, I'm like, man, that's crazy. Um, just listening to this as I drive, she was specific with her daughter. She was like, hey, I'm going to be working a double. In fact, when you wake up, I'm not going to be there. So continue to keep the door locked. The daughter nodded and agreed with what her mother said. She just said, yes, I know, I hear you, I understand. I'm driving a little more, making a few turns, and the mother tells her daughter that, hey, I'll be able to have a couple of days off next week, and then we'll be able to go on vacation. So I'm listening to all of this, and by the time she get done having a conversation with her daughter, the commute was so short. Before they knew it, they were already home. I dropped them off. Um, she thanked me for picking them up, and they went on their way. Now, once I dropped her off, usually I just click or swipe on the screen for to be available for another ride. But on this occasion, I didn't because I was just pondering about not just April and her situation with her daughter, but the other kids. How it's awful for them, um, because their parents aren't able to really provide how they want to provide due to a lot of reasons. But this isn't the cast blame. It's more so about the kids. As I'm driving off, and I decide to click on the app again to get back into helping more people because people need help with rides. At the time, I was just thinking like, man, the environment where they were living, it was it could have been better just from the outside looking in. I mean, I'm not pocket watching, but I think where a child is raised, the environment, I think that plays a role. Obviously, I mean, we all know that, um, and it's just awful for the child. And times are hard. I mean, they were hard then, and for some, for enough, it's still harder currently. So the parents not able is not able to always do what he or she wants to do for their child. Now, depending on the age of the child, it's all right because most children just want affection and want their parents or their guardian or their significant other to be there and spend time with them. I think that that doesn't really play a role until they get into, like, let's say, double digit and having to go to school. Well, you don't even have to go to school now. On this day, you just hop on social media and a kid can see what he or she does not have, or he or she can see where their parents are striving to get to be able to afford them the the joys that they may not have had when they were younger. When they were a child. And even with April, as it is with most parents, just because they aren't there currently, that don't mean that they can't progress and elevate and get there in the future. And that was crossing my mind, and a part of me wanted to interject and say something, but this was a moment between daughter and mother, and I was just staying in my lane, getting them to where they needed to be. But yeah, just because April, where in a position where she's not able to do for her daughter how she wants to do, the main thing I took from it, that she was able to do something, you know, because there's a child out there right now who parents ain't doing squat, and they have the means, they just don't want to do it, because either they're lazy, or they don't get, or they're not seeing eye to eye with their significant other, whatever it may be. It's just terrible all around. And something else that was awful for the child was that, from the way April was explaining it to her daughter, she was going to be the only one at home. You know, no matter what type of environment a kid is in, some areas are more safe than others. However, I mean, this is probably a pattern for her, and this is a habit, so she'll probably have no issue of going to sleep. But I just kept thinking, as I pulled in and dropped them off, I was like, well, what if something transpires? I mean, she could have some kind of alarm system, but I mean, it's still a kid. She could run and hide and all of that, but I get it. Um, people and parents have to do what they have to do. So it's like, it's just kind of sometimes leave you speechless. Um, and it also, for me personally, it just reiterated being grateful, being able to reflect on, you know, my upbringing, and not having to deal with, that kind of situation, which also led me to thinking about, like, where is her family members? Like, where is her husband? Where is her boyfriend? Where is her siblings? Or maybe she's the only child. You know, I think if the duration of the ride was longer, I probably would have not had asked those questions. However, I would have gave her some positive feedback, which was based in being optimistic, being realistic, and just trying to keep her spirits up. Um, 'Cause she just sounded like she was down at the time, and she was probably down because she felt as though she wasn't doing what she was supposed to do. She was probably feeling awful for her daughter, because times are hard. She probably was feeling awful because from her tone and her disposition, I mean, it was just her. Like if she didn't carry the weight, everything was going to crumble. And everyone needs some kind of release, I should say, some release, some kind of outlet. Excuse me. Um, I mean, the main thing is, everything usually starts from within. And I just think for April and any single father or single mother out there going through these difficult times that takes ride share or people that are actually doing ride share, times can be hard. It doesn't just have to be, you know, for those that have a child because life happens to everyone. So yeah, that's all for today. Like, share, and subscribe. Also, don't forget to click the link to go and get my book from Amazon. All right, thank you all. You all have a good day.